Good late Thursday, early Friday. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving a look at that current temperature map here across quite a bit of the nation. You do see some colder air here. It's a story. Quite a few core to really just colder readings here. As we're looking at things, you see some snow even as we're looking toward areas like Kentucky there, New York, Pennsylvania. I know we had some in Ohio there on that Thursday night involving, I know, an NFL game even between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So that was intriguing to see as we're kind of looking at things. I know coming on even a little bit later than we normally do in toward that stream because we were having a little issue there on Facebook, so we had to share the stream there from the Facebook Cloud Weather page over to Facebook, Casey Cloud React. But we're just trying to give you that latest. You see how cool it is toward areas of North Florida, even. I know where we're at here right now, as we're getting pretty late into toward the night there, the middle of the night, really at this point. We're talking about a reading, looks like 46 degrees. So that kind of tells a story as we're kind of looking at things, as we're tracking the overall situation. So just trying to give you the latest on everything there. Let me go ahead and zoom on in a little bit. You actually see Keystone Airport is reading down at 43. I know we got a little bit cool earlier on, but it warmed up just a little bit here. East is dark, and as we look ahead toward like Saturday morning, could even have some patchy frost around, and maybe more widespread depending on where you're at within the area. But at least like around dark, some patchy frost is cool air we're talking about around colder air. Now there is some dryness, which I know, yeah, it means lower humidity values at points. If the wind's up, I know that can really impact the fire danger a little bit. So got to be careful with that. But as we're looking at things, I know FSU homecoming parade on that Friday. Things looking cool but nice overall. Just maybe want to have a light jacket, something like that, on hand now for the high school football games. It'll be after dark as we're looking toward those. So make sure that's something where you might need more of a heavier jacket since you're not maybe, especially with the air being as warm as it was earlier on, you're not as acclimated to the cooler air. So you want to bundle up here as we look ahead in toward the timeline. That could be some pretty chilly activity here in terms of the football players that are trying to just handle what's going on. I mean, some folks kind of like it cooler though than 80 degrees and humid. At least you can kind of bundle up with this. So you're not going to maybe have, that issue like you would in the summertime with those cramps really being prevalent. But as we're looking at things here, let's go ahead and jump on over right now toward the graphics. We're really lucky because we very well could have had Sarah as a hurricane coming toward Florida this week. But instead, I know the models last week for a little while, they were really on it with Sarah wanting to come as a hurricane toward Florida. We got the remnant moisture. Had a good bit of run around Tallahassee, but that really broke up as they got further east. I mean, really broke up, really dried out. So that was good to see. We had some wind associated with what was left there, but could have been way worse because the models there were really showing something with that, but ended up not happening. It was closer to land there around areas like Honduras, so it was harder to really get its act together there. So that was good. If we get any more storms here, these are the names that are left. I mean, at this point, it'd be really hard to get probably more than maybe like one name. That's not even a guarantee that that'll happen. And these names, technically, if we did have a storm that popped up in like early December, these would be the names that are used until the end of the calendar year. Now, the hurricane season officially ran for another week. We're not seeing too much in the guidance right now, though, as you saw last week. Things can change pretty rapidly, finally, for the good. A lot of times, not so good, as we saw with storms in the season. I mean, we saw the concern escalate and become just terrible with like Helene, even Debbie to some degree happened fairly quick there, Milton. You just saw how things came together, and we had tragedies here on our hands. So we finally got the lucky end of the overall scenario there with Sarah. in terms of our area, in terms of that impact not really materializing at all. We were able to even go out of alert mode there. We didn't have any like severe weather, like tornado warnings or anything. I know they actually had with an area of low pressure, not tropical, but very, low pressure there as we were looking up toward the Pacific Northwest. As we were kind of checking things out there, they had some tornado warnings in play. They had some really strong wind knocking out power. Even sadly, some fatalities reported because the winds there and the overall pattern were just so strong up that way, but not tropical in nature there. But I mean, low pressures, that's what you have with a hurricane, a low pressure system. And that was one. It's just a different kind there, different impacts to some degree, but you still have the wind there. That's a big factor of it. When you're talking about a low pressure system that always tries to deepen and calm bomb cyclones per se, and meteorology here at points, but really it's just a deeper low pressure that was very significant up that way. But again, not too concerned about the tropics at this point. So that's great news here as we're looking at things that climatology says less and less chance of something happening as we get later on here toward December. And, for the rest of the calendar year, doesn't mean it won't happen. If it did happen, it may be more likely with the pattern getting so cool like this for something to happen down toward the south more so than anything in the basin, talking about, south of Cuba or something like that. That doesn't mean that'll even happen, but we'll keep our eyes on things. It will warm up quite a bit next week here at Point for Thanksgiving. But we could start to get more of an up and down roller coaster pattern as we look ahead. We'll have to just kind of wait and see, but that's definitely possible. I mean, there's not a lot of moisture, though, headed our way locally, and, we had all that rain there, depending on where we're at in the tropics. I mean, Debbie especially. But we're now looking at drought conditions toward portions of the area. I know it's just crazy to think drought. You saw the destruction from Helene there with flooding up toward like North Carolina. Now, just we had Helene hit around here, and we had Milton hit toward the south, Debbie up here, but really hadn't had much rain in some of our area since Helene. Like the Albany area. I mean, some of those zones really hadn't had too much, so started to get some drought conditions here, believe it or not. I know it's just crazy how meteorology can do that to you. You get one side of the coin so extreme, and then you start getting these other sides so extreme as we're tracking the situation here, as we're monitoring things. So it's kind of interesting to touch on. I know as we go ahead and look now, though, to a funner topic. We were kind of already alluding to it, but a high school football action there Friday night, a 2A FHSA playoffs game between the Newberry Panthers and Bradford Tornadoes. Started going to the next round. I know Bradford lost to Newberry earlier on in the year for the district title over at Newberry, as Bradford only loss here of the 2024 season. They'll try to avenge that. If they do, they move on. Probably to go on the road, I think it was. I know I haven't looked at the bracket too much, but I think it'd be at Cocoa. Probably would be where the next round would take them if they won this one. Sometimes things get a little tricky with that. They change the format every year, it seems like. But that's what I thought I had seen there looking back. But, Bradford lost pretty badly to Newberry earlier on in the awarded season, so you could not look ahead by any stretch here. Newberry very well could come in there from Alachua County and get the win, and then Bradford's eliminated, the season's over, and it's all about 2025 at that point. And so, a big game here in Stark. It's on the radio, 106.3 FM. I know they do a live stream there. You can pay for as well through, it's the, let me get the exact thing, because I know if you've noticed, like last year, there were like spam sites even up that were not actually going to get you to the high school football action. So let me just click, since I'm kind of on that topic, let me clarify that to get you to the right one. You do have to pay a small fee, but let me make sure I give you the right website for this, just so you guys know exactly where to go here for this. So it is as we're looking ahead, the next event on there is Newberry versus Bradford in the playoffs at 7:30 in Stark. There's other high school events as well. It is the NFHSnetwork.com. So, if you can't make it out there and want to watch, you can buy their subscription to the NFHS network. So that's the storyline there. NFHS network, and a little bit confusing there, but that's the website there in partnership with the high schools and the like. So always important to, support the high schools and the like if you can't go out there. But one final time, since I don't have a like on the screen, it's a little confusing, and they're just, you see them all the time on Facebook, so many spam links that are not legitimate, but the legitimate way to watch. And sometimes I know stuff gets streamed on Facebook too, which, if it's an actual stream, that's one thing. But if it's like a link, do not click on those links. But just, so much. But NFHSnetwork.com. Okay, so mid-40s cold out there. So if you are going, bundle up as you're looking at things out that way. Just, that's kind of the storyline. They're not going to have any precipitation. And then we look toward college football on Saturday. The FSU homecoming game is Charleston Southern and FSU. I know it's not been a successful season at all on the field for FSU football. They're trying to get the win against the FCS team that's from the state of South Carolina. That's only won one game themselves this year. And it'll be around 60 degrees kickoff time, mostly clear and cool. I know similar conditions really toward Gainesville is for Florida. They're trying to get ball eligible. I don't have a graphic for, but Ole Miss they're trying to continue to win. To likely, if they win against Florida, win against Mississippi State, they likely go to the college football playoffs. But if they lose one of those, a lot less likely. As we look next 7 days here, rainfall forecast, not really expecting much precipitation across the area. Maybe some western areas are in Georgia here, but I know you can go to clutter.com/trader for an interactive look at things. You see more precip to the north, and there's some precip. Not going to stop on this exactly, but it could be snow even as we're looking toward portions of the country, and we'll have to see how that might impact Thanksgiving travel. I know models haven't exactly been consistent on that, but there could be some weather makers that are ongoing as we're looking toward Thanksgiving next week, but it's just too early to dive into the details. We'll have more in the late Tuesday update next week. Late Tuesday, early Wednesday update, we'll be on with that, but then we'll be off, of course, Thanksgiving night unless something comes up in terms of some type of weather concerns that we're not really seeing in terms of local, or if we just have something really overwhelming nationally, possibly, but not necessarily seeing that right now here as we're looking at things. But next Tuesday, our next scheduled update, late Tuesday, early Wednesday. And you see our covered area here, Bradford, where we're at. As part of course, the 62 counties. We've been on forever. Tornado warning storm to move through these counties, these zones, over the last 5 years, and not expecting anything like that in the next 7 days. But we're always watching things. We're always tracking. As you see here, that forecast for the next 7 days now. Cool on that Friday. Starting out pretty chilly on that Saturday, even really colder. We could even have some frost around. I mean, some areas in southwest Georgia, maybe like Albany, could get closer to that freezing mark. There could be a rural spot or two. I mean, we say 36. That didn't mean, that a rural spot or two couldn't get to 32. It's definitely possible. We see warming up though Sunday afternoon, 70, but still pretty chilly in the morning. Could still have some issues towards some of those rural spots. And then on Monday, though, it gets even warmer. By Tuesday, almost 80 for the high. And then you see those lows come on up there pretty rapidly as well toward Thanksgiving. Could have some moisture starting to creep back in here or there, possibly. Not a really high chance, but could have some scattered showers. But overall, looking pretty decent right now for Thanksgiving Day in the local area. So that would be some good news here as we're tracking things. So that's kind of the storyline there as we give you the latest. It's all about informing you and protecting you, your friends, and your family. Probably pretty much wraps it up for tonight. just stay safe out there. All the different travel that's going to be taking place for Thanksgiving. Some folks like to travel this weekend. There's other things going on. So, like those football games, I mean, high school, college, you just gotta be really careful. I know Jacksonville Jaguars are off. They've pretty much been off all year in terms of that play on the field. It just hadn't been very good here, to be quite honest. But it's a situation where, I mean, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're professionals, so there's no excuse for that. But as we're looking toward FSU, my Seminoles there. You hate to make excuses, but after what happened last year, and I know we talk about it a lot on here, but the college football playoff, what happened there on December 3rd, 2023, being denied a spot when you're 13-0, it kind of just turns everything with the football program upside down, and kind of really metaphorically there sinks the ship, and it's hard to right that ship here when something like that happens. I mean, it could take, the rest of the decade possibly to really, get things back online, depending on how things go. I mean, with the transfer portal, it could be quicker, but I mean, just from a recruiting perspective, it just turns everything in the wrong direction there. And the players, you win all your games, you win by a lot, and a lot of them beat some really high, quality teams per se. As we're looking, teams that are ranked just so high up there, like LSU last year. FSU won by many touchdowns against the Heisman winner, and it didn't matter in the end. And the conference issues, I mean, issues with TV exposure, it seems now. I mean, ACC, I believe they had 3 ACC home games all year there on ABC, and I believe it's 5 this next weekend for the SEC. So that's not good there in terms of the TV exposure. And FSU's been down by a wide margin, but that's just not what you expect there. Not what you expect. I mean, 3 ACC home games on ABC, the main broadcast network, the whole year, and then 5 there for the SEC next weekend. I mean, just crazy to think about. But as we're looking at things here now, going back toward that perspective there with the local temperatures, you can see 41 toward Keystone, definitely cooling off. We're going to be even colder Saturday morning. Could have some frost. Might need to think about, we haven't had the alerts come out yet, but in some of those areas that get a little bit cooler, it might be a good idea to protect those most sensitive plants here and protect some people there as well. Obviously, and pets too. Those are the most important. It's just we don't have the official alert yet, so I don't want to really make it a huge deal. But it's about people, pets, and plants here for some of those most vulnerable, coldest areas. Not about the pipes at this point. We're not expecting that type of weather where the pipes would burst. It's not going to get that cold here this weekend in any of our communities in our 62 counties at this point. That it seems like that's not going to happen here. Pretty much certainty here this weekend. So that's good. But as we're looking at things, as we're tracking, we're always giving you guys the latest here. Giving you guys the latest here in the Ward Weather Center. I know what a hurricane season it was. Thankfully, we got really lucky with Sarah. I know the models there for a little while around Tuesday last week were just, insistent on a problem around Wednesday this week, and that did not happen. I know myself, some others in the meteorology community kind of dumping that maybe a little more aggressively, with that. But it's very tricky, and that signal, it was different types of models. I mean, it was the GFS, the American and the European, that were looking at things. They used different tools here to evaluate the scenario, and they were showing pretty similar potential scenarios. So it's very unusual to see that, and then that just completely fall apart in the modeling when you're only 7, 8, 9 days out. I mean, once you get past that, I mean, you don't want to, as you're looking at DFS, you're not ever really go with like a 14-day model run or anything. We don't ever do anything like that. But I know Roy wanted to give you the heads up, but we got really lucky with that. So that was great news. That's a positive, not a negative here, and that we did not get hit by another hurricane. Florida had 3. That was enough for this year. Let's kind of move on to 2025. Is how I'm looking at it at this point. We had Debbie, of course, in Florida. We had, and that was the Cat 1. We had Helene, the Cat 4. We had Milton, the Cat 3. Of course, post-analysis will kind of look at everything to see how that broke down exactly, if there's any changes that need to be made on those. I mean, I don't think you're gonna be seeing, much of any in terms of category. The win numbers could change a little though. But that's kind of the storyline there. There's all the platforms I'm on. We'll be back here late Tuesday with another update. So thanks so much, though, for tuning in for now. Let me see if there's any questions here over to folks watching live. Since, you're staying up late with me, let me just see if there's anything. Don't see any, but I'll wrap it on up for now. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. All those football games there ahead, parade, and also just all that travel folks will be making as Thanksgiving gets closer. Have a great night.